The Ticket Machine is the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. No matter what you need a ticket for, border to border, coast to coast, the Ticket Machine is your ticket source. So whether you need to get into the hottest concerts, the best sporting events, you want the best seats in the house, or you just want to get in the door, when you want to go to any event that requires a ticket, anywhere, border to border, coast to coast, it's always theticketmachine.com. Theticketmachine.com, 517-655-3201. Check it out today at theticketmachine.com.
But to be honest with you, I don't want anybody to feel bad for us. It's just the nature of the beast. It's the way it goes. I'm not going to tell you next man up and this and that. I'm going to tell you we're going to have to adjust as a team. And the one thing that's good about basketball is a team sport. There's no doubt that our margin for error has shrunk, meaning we were at plus 11 in our offensive. We beat teams by 11 points a game. Maybe that shrinks down some, but what I hope to do is get a few more points out of a few people, a few less points, meaning defensively we're going to have to be a little better. Find a way to rebound a little bit better, maybe through cutouts and just being a little more solid. So the margin has shrunk for the errors. We don't have many, but our expectations for victory hasn't changed one iota. Nick won't be replaced, as I said, by one guy. It'll be a group. I had a big meeting today. I met with my team early this morning to deliver the message of, we already knew about Nick, but what we need for the next 3 weeks. I'm hoping and praying, one is get off Twitter. Number two is to focus in on what you got to focus in on for 3 weeks. Give me 3 weeks of your life. I'm going to give you 3 weeks of mine. And, you know, sometimes through adversity, some of the greatest moments in your life take place. Everybody just has to look a little bit harder at what they can do to help a team win. If you look at yesterday, it wasn't like Cassius had a great day. He was 3 for 15. And, you know, Nick was out most of that game. And yet we found a way to win and actually be a little stronger the second half. We made 10 threes with Nick, or with Cassius getting 1. That was a big accomplishment. We overcame the second half of Nick being out by just locking up defensively. We won because we got contributions from many different people. Guys like Kiffy or guys like Kyle Arns. You know, now we're going to need more. As I said, we love about basketball as it is maybe the consummate team game, even over football or Fred's favorite baseball. You need 5 guys working together, and very seldom does just one guy make that big of a difference. And yet, when you look at a team like Rutgers, you know, when we played them the first time, it was back in November, which seems like 100 years ago. Nick had 20. Josh Langford had 14. That's 34 points we're going to make up for. But at the same time, remember that Matt McQuaid didn't play in that game. I think a couple other guys. Kenny Goins is a better player now than he was then. So it's not like this team hasn't faced adversity all year long. I mean, it started early with McQuaid, then it went to Goins, then it went to Kyle Arns, and now it goes to Nick. And we found a way before, so we're going to find a way again. The problem for me with Rutgers is they're the 4th biggest team in the Big Ten, I mean in the country. The number 1 tallest lineup in the Big Ten. They got 10 guys that are playing 13 or 14 minutes or more. So one thing they have is great depth. They're going to just keep throwing people at us. I have a lot of respect for the job Steve Pinkel has done with them. This team is so much better. Guys that were averaging 1 and 2 points are now averaging 6 and 7 and 5. And everybody's gotten a little bit better. 2 guys that were starting last year, playing a lot, are playing the least amount of minutes. That means they've got better players around them. Omaru, I think is how you say it. I got a little phonetical spelling today by my great SID back here. He is an elite level player. I mean, he can do a lot of things. He can score it, he can shoot it, he can penetrate, he can guard. He plays with incredible energy, and I think he is, you know, one of the guys that could play a lot. Their point guard is very good. He's given us trouble. They have great size. Guards are 6'5", 6'4", 6'6" at times. And our last 3 matchups have been decided by 11 points or less. So I'm sure this game is going to be no different. It's going to be, we're going to have to learn how to play in close games, and maybe that'll help prepare us for down the stretch. So all in all, guys, it's a shame for Nick. Everything did go very well last night. They got him in right away, and hopefully that'll speed the process up a little bit. I don't have any medical information for you. It was your traditional small hairline fracture, either done on a hit on the hand or a hit on the rim, and or both, I guess. And I don't have much else to tell you about that. That you can check with my trainers. As far as coming back, I've talked to people that have had 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Different people have done different things depending on how they react. For the most part, Nick has not been a guy that's been injured much, and he has, if it's sprained ankle or a little bit here and there, he's recovered very quickly. Whether that'll be the same for a bone, I don't know. Questions?
Did he have some kind of surgery procedure? And
Yes, he had surgery last night at 8. Did I not say that? Or were you not?
You said they got right in there, and so I assume that's what it was.
You did.
We can't assume anything.
You guys assume a lot of things. Don't give me that crap.
So surgery, yes.
Surgery.
Yes, he had surgery last night.
And then talk about some of the guys that can do a little bit more, and you expect to do a little more, and need to do a little more. And
Just about everybody. As I told my team today, I went through the list. I've asked each guy to maybe upgrade their scoring a point or two, downgrade their turnovers 1 or 2, look at what Nick gave us inside, and then what he gave us in other areas, what he didn't give us as well. You know, if we can become a better screening team, if we can do some things there, if we can turn it over less. And we just asked each guy to pick up a couple of spots, meaning of our top 6 or 7. And then you got guys like Kithier, Bingham, Braden even. You know, we're going to have to throw some size in there. And then we've really got to take a jump with Foster's got to give us a little more. I mean, every guy's got to give us a little bit more. And everybody's got to give us a little more defensively. I mean, we're not going to hold teams like we did the second half. But if we can add a few points to a couple guys' point production, if we can subtract a few points by being more solid and better defensively, if we can start figuring out how we can cut out a little better to get some rebounds, and here's a team we probably would out-rebounded by 1 maybe, and we give up 3 missed free throws. And one of our freshmen gave up 2 of them. So we're going to correct that this week. We'll do a better job as a coaching staff correcting some of the things. And as I told my team, you control what you can control. And there's certain things that nobody can control. We can't worry about those, but we can worry about our effort. We can worry about our passion. We can worry about maybe a little better job in the scouting reports. So, coaches are supposed to be off Twitter. Players, no problem for me. But everybody's got to do a little better job of focusing in, because the goals have not changed. Hopefully, if things go well for Nick, we'll get him back at the end. And it's going to be in state of survival between now and then. And that's good for me. I'm looking forward to that fight.
You mentioned some of those guys. Obviously, Thomas has played some minutes in recent weeks, but with Bingham and Burke, what kind of things do you see from them? Obviously, Marcus is a guy that defensively probably needs more of the work, but has the shot.
Yeah.
Nick doesn't.
Well, that's what we're going to do tonight after practice, before my radio show. You know, like everything you do, you know, in life is, you know, when crisis hits or when things go wrong, you You kind of trim the fat out of what you're doing. You kind of take a little bit more attention to detail. I've got to do a better job making sure those guys understand their roles. If it is a Burke, it's going to be to defend, rebound, and set screens. If it is Kith here, that's one area I think he can. I think he can run the court really well, and I think he can set great screens. So we're going to change up some things a little bit because of what we're going to be missing in that low post scoring. But I think maybe going over each person's maybe top 3 things that he's got to do will be important. And in Marcus, you're right, he can shoot it, but it's sporadic, but he can block shots. He's done a much better job. He's been on the scout team the last 3 weeks, and he's actually impressed me some there. So we're going to use, we're going to use the whole damn team, and we're going to have some fun doing it.
Tom, 2 questions for you. First, I want to ask you about Xavier Tillman. He said the biggest lesson he's learned from you is the effort is on him. And he said that was something that you sat him down and talked about, that I can coach you, but you are the only one who controls effort. Would you talk about his ability as a listener? He comes across as a great listener.
We started Xavier 1 game, and he had 16 and 8. And this kid is, he's prepared himself the right way to be able to step in. He's the one guy that I feel comfortable that he's going to step in and do the things that he needs to do. And again, all these roles are going to have to be maybe a little bit more specifically defined for him, like maybe it's not the time to be stepping out shooting threes if he can make 1 out of 3, because maybe we need you inside a little bit more, and that's, we're just going to make some adjustments. And there are going to be adjustments, not overhauls. And of all the guys on my team, I don't think there's a better guy to make adjustments with than Xavier. I think he gets it, he understands it, he is selfless, he cares about the team, the program. I think he's going to adjust just fine. The things you worry about are foul trouble or, another injury or something like that, but we can't control some of those. The foul trouble, we're going to have to play smarter defensively. But we are getting better. This team has been very solid defensively all year. We are leading the league in 3-point percentage defense and regular field goal percentage defense. We have done a damn good job in some of those things. It doesn't get the credit it is deserved. McQuaid, I think, is finally getting some credit. I'll say it. He's one of the best defenders in the country if you put him on a player and tell him to hold him down. So everybody's going to have to rise up, none more than Xavier, because we're going to expect him to still run the court. He's going to have to be really good on those ball screens, which he is probably the best on my team on the ball screens. So there'll be some things we lose out, there'll be some things we gain. Again, your guys, or hopefully our fans' job is to feel bad for Nick, and nobody's job is to feel bad for us. I'm not trying to give you a soft shoe on this. I believe that we've risen to the occasion so many times this year through so many things, guys not practicing, things that maybe half you don't even know about. I think after meeting this morning, I'll be shocked if we don't have a great practice today and control what we can control.
Don't want to get you in any trouble, but yesterday Jack Noah and I were joking about, don't even remember the last time we saw that many guys on the floor and fouls were not getting called. It seemed good to be back at an old school Big Ten game. How difficult is it when literally calls can change game to game, preparing guys, hey, this was a foul last week, but not this? I'm not trying to get you in any trouble, but that has to be a dynamic.
I don't worry about any trouble. I really don't. It is very difficult for the officials. It has changed. It used to be the hand check and then charges, and then it's changed, and it does go game to game, and it's hard on them, it's hard on us, it's hard on the players. But the only reason I'm not going to get in any trouble, it's our fault. It's the coaches that bring some of those things to the committee, and then the officials aren't making the rules. Personally, I think we'd be better off if the officials were making the rules. That's my personal opinion. we have committees with a couple coaches on it, and people on it that aren't in the day-to-day, and, you know, like everything else, I think that's part of the problem. So I don't blame anybody, but we're the ones rubber stamping it, and they're the ones administering. You know, it's like, don't kill the messenger. Sometimes, I hate to give in to those guys, but sometimes I don't blame them. It's like we're all killing the messenger. And, you know, the hooking thing is absolutely absurd. One guy gets hurt and we change all the rules. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And had nothing to do with my team. I mean, we've had a couple of them, but not that many. But I'm watching games, and I mean, if that doesn't get changed, shame on us. You know, now players can tell them pretty soon, you know, coaches can tell them to check the monitor. Let's go to parents can tell them. Let's go to cheerleaders can tell them. Let's get ridiculous and let the media tell them to go to the monitor. I mean, that's about where we are right now. And I feel bad. I feel bad for the officials, but I look in the mirror and say that's our fault, letting that happen.
A quick clarification real quick. I know you said there's some confusion about when Nick actually hurt himself. Did he say, like, I remember it hurting at a certain point, or did you realize when it?
No, it was sometime in the last 2 minutes of the half. Came out and he went back in. You look at it on film, and you know there was a foul under there, but it was nothing that. So I have no idea. All I knew is when I went in there, Nick, our trainer, said to me, you know, Nick's hand is bothering him. I didn't think nothing of it. And I get in there and they bring him back in the room, and then he didn't come out until after, and that's what it was.
The other thing I was going to ask you this, before we knew this for this week, knowing what's coming up Sunday, whether there was an extra motivation to not look past a certain team, but does something like this happening almost kind of make that focus happen without you having, you know what I mean? Like, now they have
yeah, you know what?
they've got to worry about.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're asking. If anybody's dumb enough on my team to look at the Big Ten as we've looked at it and seen how many teams, I mean, we've had the worst two teams in the league beat the best two teams in the league. We've had upsets, if that's what you want to call them. If we need that at this time of year, we're probably in trouble. But all I know is from my coaching staff and from my training staff and from anybody that touches a player, the focus will be on Rutgers for this week, Michigan for next week, Indiana for the week after, and it's one game at a time now. I don't know if it makes, that'd be a good question, ask the players tonight, but if they say yes, shame on them. Tell them your coach says you got a problem.
Tom, I was wondering if, is going smaller without Nick, is that on the table as well? I guess maybe moving Aaron and Kyle and guys down to the 4 and just trying to play one big, is that a possible solution during this time?
Not this week. You're going to see the biggest human beings you've ever seen on a court come in here on Wednesday. So that's not on the table. But I mean, it doesn't mean it couldn't change. You know, I mean, we have the ability. I mean, to go small. You know, I think we just got to get Xavier and Kenny a little more rest. That's all. I mean, rest before the game because they won't get as much during.
And then just without Nick on the floor, what do you anticipate that trickle down will be on Cassius in terms of the attention and focus he'll get from
you know, I think Cassius had attention all the time. I mean, when they play on Nick, they don't leave Cassius. If they double Nick, they don't leave Cassius. They've done the same things on ball screens. They've done the same things. Maybe you'll get a little more, I don't know, but I like my chances. That's the way they go. I'm fine with that. Cassius will be able to handle that. We got a few things that we think we can do to alleviate some of that, and that will not be one of my worries.
So I'm wondering with Xavier, how often you'll feature him now on the low block versus, you know, obviously with Nick, that was more of the priority, and how much you'll use him and try and create matchups, and what, there's certain things obviously he doesn't do as well as Nick down there, but there are other things he maybe does better, how you'll try and take advantage of that.
Yeah, we will try to take advantage of his strengths. We're not going to put a round peg in a square hole. I'm not going to try to make him Nick Ward because he's not that in the post. What I want to make him is a better Xavier Tillman and realize that he still has to spend more time down there, if for no other reason, rebounding the basketball. But, you know, Xavier is one of our best screeners, one of our best rollers. He's one of our best ball screen defenders. I mean, he's got some things that he does better than anybody we got. Now, he's got some things that, you know, he's definitely not as good as Nick on, or maybe not his strength. Our job is going to be to find out what his strengths are and try to use those to the maximum and not put him in a position to try to make him do things that are part of his weakness. And that's what we do with all of our players. I think that's one of my main things with Aaron Henry right now. We've got to get him doing what he is very good at. He's a very good slasher. He should be a phenomenal offensive rebounder, and he should be the best defender on my team. So that challenge will go out to him tonight, too.
And he looked unsure of himself. So what conversation, he looked like a step back from Wisconsin. What conversations are happening with him?
He's a freshman. You know, that's the only conversations I have with him. He's a rookie. He's a freshman. You know, it's interesting having Tom here and talking to him a little bit. You know, and it doesn't change at any level. And you know, Aaron's been playing pretty good lately. We're just trying to push Aaron past the, you know, the deer in the headlights look. And sometimes that happens, but I know this. He has the ability to do what we need him to do. And it's our job to get him to do that on a regular basis. And you know what? He didn't do it as well as we want him to do, so you got to think about it. This game, he's going to be back in there. I mean, there's going to be some changes, guys, as far as who plays integral parts of something just because of the changing in the lineup. It's been that way the whole year. But, you know, Aaron Henry, for the most part, has been playing 20 minutes a game. I think that'll continue one way or another. He played 10 minutes in the last game because we got a little more out of Kyle. We needed a little more in some other ways. And Aaron wasn't playing as good as I think he can play. What happens is, if a guy's not playing good and he's trying to do what he can do, that's one thing. If he's not playing good and he's not seeing it, then the bench is a good place to see things from. You know, it's a very good view. You get 20/20. It's perfect.
Tom, you're going to get from your fans and the national media a nice little pity party thrown here. Is part of your message to your team today, don't buy into it, just win, baby?
You know, pity party is, you know, that'll happen for a game. Nobody cares. You know, the injuries get forgotten. There's another body out there. There's another jersey. I watched it in football all year long this year for us. So I take very little solace in pity parties, but people will jump up. I see some people barely think we'll make the tournament or something. It's going to be a cold day in hell if that happens. It's not going to be that kind of fall off. And I'm telling you, there's not going to be. And if it happens, it's going to be out of our control. So we've been thrown. You know, you look at the top three teams, two of them have had no injuries, and we've had injuries all year long. You know, there's other years that I've been there that we had no injuries and other teams had injuries. You know, might not have won the national championship if Kenyon Martin doesn't break his leg, you know. I mean, it's the way it is, and like I said, in the last year I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. And one thing I learned is don't feel sorry for yourself and control what you can control. And I'm going to control. Now, I'm going to control it at even a different level. And I think that's good for me, good for my staff, good for my team. It's the right time for it all to happen. So, pity party put on Nick. Pity party put on Josh. Those two guys gave us a lot, and one's going to miss the rest of the year, and one's going to miss a significant amount of time. The only party that I'd like to get, I'd like to have a party Wednesday night and make sure all 15,000 of them are there celebrating, because we're going to need our team to be better. Our crowds have been, I think the last 3-4 games have been unbelievable. They got to ratchet it up another notch too, because we need every little point we can get, and we get those points, and we're going to keep on trucking.
Kenny Gordon's given you more than you thought. It seems like he's almost saved your bacon a couple times.
I had a lot of people saving my bacon, brother, and Kenny's one of them. You know, he he has given me more than I thought. He's rebounded the ball a lot better than I thought. He's always been a pretty good defender. But now that shot is starting to come, and that gives us another weapon, you know. And he is not only shooting it pretty good, but he's at times shooting it real good. He's in great shape. His conditioning doesn't seem to be a problem. I think he's at an all-time confident level. So, as I say, you know, one thing goes wrong, time for someone else to step up, and I think Kenny's looking forward to it. I think all of our guys this morning understood that I don't need Cash to go from 19 to 28 points. I need Cash to go from 19 to 21 maybe. I need one other guy to go from 10 to 12. I need another guy to lock down a little better and hold their opponent that's averaging 15 to maybe 13. You know, there's a lot of ways you can come up with the 15-point differential and the rebound differential and all the things. Is it going to be easy? No, things haven't been easy around here. So we're just going to keep the same path, only maybe learn from the past and try to figure out that when I'm watching film today and I see Josh in there and I said, what in the hell was this game? And then I realized that we played him in November and, you know, but then I said, you know, wow, you know, that's a lot. We had our full team then. And then all of a sudden I said, well, where's McQuaid? And realized that he was out that game. So he's become a pretty important player that can get you 10 points, but maybe hold down a guy that was getting 15 down to 8. And so all of a sudden, that's where your point differential comes. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to mix and match it. We're not playing with house money, as they say. You know, we put ourselves in a position where we are fighting for a Big Ten championship. And we've been in this position, you know, a lot of times here. You know, 7 or 8 of them we won it. And, 3 or 4 of them we lost it at the last day. And that's the goal of the program, be in a position. And we're in that position. And you know what? If I was a Michigan State fan right now, I would put any energy of pity into this team. And put your rally caps on, join the group, because we're going to get after it this week. And we'll find out what's enough, but we're going to get after it on Wednesday night and rally for Nick, for Josh, and for all the people that have done what they've done. And it gives new guys a chance, and it gives older guys like Cassius, which I'm putting a lot more on his shoulders, a lot more on Kenny's, a lot more on Xavier's, and a lot more on Cueto's. You know, those 4 guys are just going to have to help raise the team up, and I think they'll do a good job.
You touched on it a little bit, but I'm wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on Thomas Kithier, what his role was going to be going forward, how it's going to expand a little bit, and what has he done to kind of prepare himself for this kind of a moment?
Thomas has been steady Eddie. You know, he just keeps doing his job every day. He's been on that scout team the whole year. He's battling against Nick. He's battling against Xavier. That's a lot to battle against on an everyday basis, and I think he's just kept his mouth shut and done his job. What I've learned about Thomas Kithier, he's one of the smarter players I've got. Picks up things real quick. He understands what to do defensively. I mean, he half-fronted that big kid from Wesson. He hipped him. He played behind. He just worked. You know, what is his role? I don't know. It all depends on how Xavier and, you know, foul trouble, you know, conditioning. He's going to play. They're probably all going to play. But how much? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know yet. What did he play? 10 minutes, 12 minutes in the last game? 10. Is that what he played? 10. So, you know, that could go up some. Since Nick had 17 or 18 minutes, I'm sure he played. That could go up some, but some of that will just depend on how the game's called and what goes on. But at least he's proven. Every time we've put him in for a lack of practice time with that group, he's answered the bell. And, God, can't ask more than that of him. If he doesn't get nervous this week, knowing he's going to play a little more, I think he'll do fine.
Tom, 2 things. You talk about Nick, the physical aspect and the recovery. How was he psychologically last night? And you spend a lot of time defending, comforting coaches when they have adversity. Do you hear anything now from Miles or Chambers or even Peichel or Beeline?
You know, I haven't heard anything yet because it's just in the morning. I'm sure it just got out. I'm sure every coach, you know, when you go through it, I don't care if you're the enemy or not, everybody knows that we're all one injury away or one thing that can happen that would change it. But I got a couple texts last night when some of the words got out. But in general, you know, I mean, let's be honest about it. On fan bases, there's a lot of happy people right now, you know, around the country. And, you know, as I said about, you know, Cincinnati that year, I mean, you know, I wasn't sitting there cheering for him, but I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get places. And so I think Nick, psychologically, I met with him and his mom and dad last night, right before he went to surgery, and he was doing okay. I mean, he really was. I think he felt better that they think there's a chance to come back. You know, I try to tell him, hey, this will give you a little rest and everything, but I mean, we can't paint a pretty picture. It's not pretty. It's not good for anybody. But I think, you know, when you watch how classy and how good Josh Langford has handled, you know, maybe of all the players I've got, definitely number one on my list of living the game, not loving it, not liking it, but living it. And how gracefully he's handled a tough situation, at least outwardly. I think all of our players, you know, learned something from that. And, you know, McQuaid did it when he was hurt, and Arnie did it. I mean, we haven't had a lot of complaining and why me, you know. We constantly remind our players every day as I watched the guy walk away from the game when I got to my office last night on one leg, you know, that there's a lot worse things in the world that can happen, and I think they've handled it well. I think Nick handled it really well. The day after, you know, I texted with him this morning. I'm going to meet with him this afternoon. It's always harder the day after, you know, you go through that time, and then the next day, you know, oh, geez, I'm not going to get to play, you know, but I think he was in a pretty good place, to be honest with you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Kind of two things. One, with Kenny, Kenny's had to play the 5 out of necessity before. Do you worry about disrupting the rhythm he's got kind of on the wing right now, Dan?
You know, I do a little bit if I had to play him there, but that's what makes Kenny so special. He's versatile. You know, as you said, he's played center against bigger guys than he's going to play against. Last night when he faced what's his name from Purdue 2 years in a row. So I'm not worried about Kenny's rhythm. Kenny's what do I got to do for the program, coach? What do I got to do for everybody? You know, I don't plan on playing him at center, but there's a lot of things I haven't planned on, you know, in the last couple of years. So I'll just roll with the punches and do what I can do. And the good part is I know Kenny will do what he can do for the program. And that's the great feeling I had at 7:30 this morning when you meet with a team and, you know, you deliver some bad news, you talk about some things that have to happen, you kind of look in their eye and see, okay, are we throwing in the white flag? Are we rallying? Are we, you know, and I've found a great, you know, resolve amongst them. And so it'll be fun to see how practice goes, and then we move forward.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, with Nick seeing so many double teams on the offensive end, do you anticipate that continuing with other guys, or do you anticipate teams to now start defending you differently?
You know, they might defend us a little differently, and if they do, we can adjust. We adjusted to the double teams pretty good. Teams stopped doubling them a lot because we were playing out of the double teams pretty good. But, you know, don't count Xavier out either. I mean, Xavier's a different kind of player. I'm not sure there's anybody in the league that can score on the post like Nick can. But, you know, Xavier's had some moments when he's made some good moves down there too, and he's a pretty good passer out of there. And so I don't know how they're going to play us. I really don't care how they're going to play us. I care how we play, and we're going to try to adjust on the run because that's what it'll be.
Thank you.
You have a question, or you had one?
I did.
What is
but
it?
It's okay.
It's not that formal around here where we need a mic for everything, so don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, granted it was one game, but in the second half, just to see the different lineups and the shots start to fall, did it give you any added confidence in some players, some certain players that maybe you might not have had before?
Well, I was told a lot last night that we had some strange lineups in there for a couple, and and I don't even see lineups. I'm half worried about Nick, I'm half worried about this and that. I don't know who's in the game. Usually DJ's subbing them to a certain extent. So, but as I look back on the film, I thought some of those strange lineups played pretty well. And it's really, I'm at the point where I have to sub some guys. So I'm more worried about how comfortable they felt than how comfortable I felt. If they felt comfortable and they got something out of that, that's a good thing. And they're gonna, it'll be interesting to see who handles the added, I don't know if you want to call it pressure. How about if we go the opposite? The added opportunity they get. We got some guys that can get an added opportunity, and they all beg for it. They all want it. Mommies and daddies want it. Grandma and grandpa wants it. Players want it. Guess what? They got it, and we're going to try to make sure we get them as ready as we can for the game Wednesday night and see where that takes us. Thanks.